Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on X at Movies TV Mad and on Instagram and on Threads at Movies TV Mad X. A very warm welcome to Friday's edition of the DC Universe Daily. What are you holding, Nick? It's my PS4 controller, so that screen doesn't time out. So yes, a very warm welcome to Friday's edition of the DC Universe Daily. And you know, I never get surprised normally with what today's entertainment industry dishes out. One thing I could never have predicted is Zack Snyder going on the Joe Rogan podcast. For years now, the internet has slaughtered Snyder. We see what the fandom menace have to say about Snyder. By the way, they don't like being called the fandom menace anymore, but they are the fandom menace. They do hate Zack Snyder, but anyway, right, it's not just them. There's plenty of people on the internet that will tell you Zack Snyder is a hack filmmaker. I am not one of them. But finally, Zack Snyder gets his right to reply because Joe Rogan is a huge show to be on. Wow, I mean, you have to be big to be on the Joe Rogan show, right? You're not ever going to see someone like me on there, although I'd like to chat with Joe, it'd be fun. For free, you don't have to pay me, Joe, just get me on your podcast. It would be fun, but you're in America, right? I don't. That plane journey would be far too long. Anyway, I'm getting distracted, yes. So Zack Snyder was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and as I say, it's about time Zack Snyder got his right to reply. Because for years now, everyone slaughters him. And I was on X, right, while this was going on. And, you know, Snyder fans were posting videos. I went on to Threads where someone was saying, you see, I always had anxiety about Man of Steel. And this interview is Exhibit A. So I quoted this person saying, Snyder is triggering the right people. That interview tells you that Snyder loves the hate, loves the fact that these people get triggered by him. But it was a very, very interesting, interview. And he did speak about the hate. He goes, I don't understand the hate. They're just movies. But of course, Zack knows, and I know, and everybody knows they are not just movies. Art, like everything, politics, football, anything. I mean, what's fan short for? Fanatic, right? Fanatic. That means no objectivity, right? And there's no objectivity when it comes to Snyder. Snyder made a Watchmen movie, something people are very passionate about. Everyone has opinions in the way Snyder made that movie. I haven't read the Watchmen graphic novels. I don't know what Watchmen should be in the canon. I just saw that movie and I thought, fucking wow. On its own, it's a great movie. I don't know what Snyder did to the canon to piss people off. But there's something about his filmmaking people don't like. They're offended by the slow motion. I don't get that, right? I think it's cool. And I was never a fan of slow motion in the past. But he does it in a way where I love it. But you don't have to like Zack Snyder. You just have to be objective. And nobody is objective when it comes to Snyder. And I don't understand why. Why doesn't James Gunn or, James Mangold or these other directors or Denis Villeneuve get that hate? Denis Villeneuve, if you watch his movies, has similar sensibilities as a filmmaker, as a visual filmmaker, as Zack. So what's the difference? The difference is that Denis Villeneuve has never adapted any DC IPs, because I can guarantee you Denis Villeneuve's take on DC would be pretty similar to Zack Snyder's. Now, apparently, according to Denis, there's a secret project he's doing. Maybe he's doing a DC movie. Wouldn't that be funny? Hey, everyone. And we'll get to the DCU as well. We'll get to James Gunn, because again, he's been on Threads and he's been talking and he's been very, very interesting. But let's stick to this subject of Zack Snyder, because he is a very interesting figure, isn't he, Zack? I mean, look. The other day, it was announced that he's releasing a 6-hour director's cut of the first Rebel Moon. Is it 3 and 3? for Rebel Moon 1 and Rebel Moon 2? Or is it 6 hours of the director's cut for Rebel Moon 1 and then 2? Bring it on. I mean, Nerdrodic was taking the piss. You know, it's going to be hell. I said, bring on the fucking hell. I'm excited. A 6-hour fucking movie. I mean, this is a wet dream for me. So I'm excited. Look, I love Snyder. I love his sensibilities as an artist. But yeah, it's like this Truth King 31 who claims to despise Zack Snyder. I think he's just a con man who is trying to find people. You know, he's basically sucking in people who hate Zack Snyder. And he's created this big war. But, you know, like, there's stands of DC Universe. There's actually James Gunn stands. You know, so everyone talks about, you know, Snyder fans not having any objectivity. But are these James Gunn stands any different? No stan, you know, or fan is objective. Now, I never used to be objective. Years ago, when I first came onto the internet, when I first started my Twitter back in my original Twitter account, not this one that I've got, X, in 2009, I wasn't objective. I couldn't hear anything against DC, Warner Brothers, especially Smallville. I would have you if you said anything about my beloved Smallville. But these days, I'm objective, right? I'm not that objective, but I'm a lot more objective than I used to be. And I think at the end of the day, like all the Marvel versus DC discourse, these are trillion-dollar fucking companies, and they're laughing at us, right? Zack Snyder's a millionaire. James Gunn's a millionaire. They must be fucking laughing at us, right? But, you know, if you try and unpackage the hate for Zack Snyder, it is interesting. And it basically, you know, I don't think even Snyder has got to the bottom of it, or he didn't really want to come out and say it. When you're a rebel, when you won't stay within the mainstream, when you won't be a good little boy or a good little girl and do as you're told and make, you know, bright coloured, you know, inspirational movies, if you like. And to me, his movies are inspirational, don't get me wrong. But he makes kind of movies based on realism, you know, but also his visuals, his visual language is actually fantastical. So although he's making grounded real-world versions of these superheroes, or he was, the way he shoots them is so beautiful. So there's something beautiful, you know, he was talking about Bruce Wayne taking painkillers and alcohol in BVS. And that's what a real Batman would be like. There's no way an ordinary human being would put on a mask, go out and go after the Joker and shit like that, and not be in absolute pain. Even in Justice League, we saw him taking his costume off and Wonder Woman helping him, you know, and him having bruises. That's the reality of the situation. So I don't think, again, Snyder wasn't doing anything controversial. And I've said before, if you're offended by Batman branding people, that's okay. Because guess what? That's why Snyder and Terrio did it. You're supposed to be upset that he's branding people. They don't like it either. But they're giving you, you know, they're breaking him. They're deconstructing him. And in the end of the movie, when he says to Clark, when he says to Superman, Martha won't die today, he's been reconstructed. That's the point. What is there not to understand? But there does seem to be this disconnect with Snyder. I mean, really, Zack Snyder has become a pantomime villain. And in a lot of ways, I think Zack Snyder loves this role. But you have to ask the question, why such a shy, retiring person as Zack is decided to go on Joe Rogan? Could it be, so the more triggered he gets people, the more hate watches that Rebel Moon 2 gets? I think so. I think it's a way of him putting more of a light on Rebel Moon 2. And he understands how it works now. He's seen the kind of ratings like Velma got, just through hate watching, right? Because a number is a number. A view is a view. It don't matter who's watching your stuff. Now, people hate watch and make videos with these hate watching and make money out of it. So they're giving something views, but they're making money out of it as well. Now, I can't do that. It's just not me. It's boring because, I can't waste my oxygen on things like that. I just want to watch the stuff that I like. I don't want to watch shit. And I certainly couldn't sit there watching shit like Velma even to make money. That's why my platform isn't successful. I can't do the grift. I can't do the grift. I just want to talk about what I'm passionate about. So there is a disconnect. There's this, as I say, Snyder's a pantomime villain. To a lot of these haters, he destroyed DC, right? He's this evil villain who came in, got his baseball bat and destroyed DC. And it is interesting because he did kind of create this environment around DC. There's his fans, there's the other DC fans. It has created this firebomb, this war of words, like I was talking about the other day. This kind of WWF brawl situation. Snyder! Oh my God, how could you do that? There's even people who still think that it was Zack's idea to have Superman kill Zod and break his neck. And I've said this so many times on my platform. That was David Goyer. In fact, Christopher Nolan stated it was David Goyer. Christopher Nolan, took Goyer to task over it. Then Goyer convinced him it was a good idea. Right? I still think it cost them movie 200 to 300 million. But anyway, I was never triggered by that. I can take it because there's so many different versions of Superman in live action and in the comics. And you can go back to the ones that make you feel good, that you enjoy. Man of Steel doesn't have to be that version of Superman that you embrace. If you don't want to embrace a version of Superman where he breaks somebody's neck, you don't have to. Freedom of choice, everyone. And if you want to look at that as the real Superman, you can. Freedom of choice. Look, this is something the haters will never understand. Zack Snyder won. Zack Snyder won because he got to direct 3 DC movies his way. And there's nothing you can do to change that. Man of Steel will not change no matter how many times you shit on Snyder on the internet. BVS will not change no matter how many times you shit on him. And the Snyder Cut will never change, right? So you can say whatever you want. He won, and he keeps on winning. And it's kind of, with these haters, they can't believe he's still working in the industry today. Because this is where we've become, that everything has to be a certain way in terms of art. Everything has to be bright colours. Everything has to have a few gags. Why is that? Why is that? Why? Why does everything have to be a certain way? Why can't there be a Snyder then? Why can't there be a Gunn? Why can't there be a Villeneuve? Why can't there be a Rian Johnson? And if you don't like that stuff, don't watch it. I found The Last Jedi not offensive, doesn't make me angry, it underwhelmed me. It bored me. So I saw it once in the cinema. I told people on the internet what I felt about it, and that was it. I didn't bore on and on and on about it. He decided to make that film. He was invited to come in the second movie of a trilogy, which was a bad idea, as I said, and to do whatever he wanted and to go away from what JJ had done. Well, that wasn't a good idea, and I was underwhelmed by it. I was excited for what JJ was doing, even though he was literally copying and pasting A New Hope, and it was clear he was going to copy and paste the other 2 movies as well. I didn't care, because I liked the whole mystery box. I thought it was exciting. A mystery box can be underwhelming when you get the answer to that mystery, but never mind, right? It made money, it was exciting. And then Rian Johnson came in. Rian Johnson, I think he's a valid director, and I think he should have been given a Star Wars story or his own trilogy to do from the very beginning. And I think people would have reacted differently. But the problem was they let him get his claws into Luke Skywalker. And that didn't end well. Rian should have created his own Star Wars characters, did his own thing, and I think people would have loved Rian Johnson's take on Star Wars outside of that trilogy. J.J. Abrams should have done that whole trilogy. You can't come in, start something off, and then just leave it and then let someone in, right? Anyway, so if you don't like something, you don't have to consume it, right? You give it a try, you watch it once. It's a bit like food, right? You taste something, you don't like the taste of it, you don't finish it, you don't eat it, you don't touch it again, right? And maybe in a few years' time when your taste buds change, right, you try it again. I do that with, art all the time. I'll watch a film, TV show, when it first comes out, everyone's saying how great it is, I don't like it, And then I'll go back to it in a few years' time and I think, actually, that was okay. And I think that's a great thing about art, isn't it? Because I think your taste buds, your tastes do change towards art. And maybe in another 5 years, I'll go back to The Last Jedi and I think, that actually wasn't so bad, actually. Maybe we all got a little bit carried away within the moment. I don't think that's going to happen. But anyway, but there's so much great art out there, especially from the past. There's so much to enjoy that at the end of the day, hating someone for making the art that you don't like doesn't make any sense. But I do recommend you watching the Joe Rogan podcast and Zack Snyder because it was very, very interesting. But whatever I say, the hate for Snyder and the love, the civil war between different factions of fanatics, right, will carry on. And it's basically a bunch of people arguing about a bunch of millionaires. Think about that for a minute. You're arguing about a bunch of successful people. It doesn't matter what you say about Zack Snyder. He's got a big house. He's got a cinema in his house. He gets to do whatever he wants. He's got a beautiful wife. He's got lovely children, He's happy, right? He also lost his daughter, right? And a lot of people were horrible about that. Think about losing your child, your little sister, whatever, right? And people, because they hated his art, went after him with that. How despicable can you get? And if you did that, you should, at the very least, sit there, slap yourself in the face and apologise to the man, even quietly in your head. Because sometimes I think, I think like the internet has become like this comic book world where we all have dual identities, right? Where when you're on the internet, you're a certain way. You could be an asshole on the internet, but in the real world, you're a placid, ordinary person. And I think that's what happens. Now, with me, here, what you see is what you get. This is me. This is Mick. If you met me in the real world, I am not playing a caricature. And I've spoken about this before. The high-level, successful YouTubers are playing a caricature, right? There's loads of them about, You see these football kind of platforms where they play like the Joe football fan. I'm going to go down the pub. Oh, I watch all your favourite shows as well. And they create this caricature. That's not really them. But they want to make money. They're ambitious. I don't have those ambitions. What you see here is what you get. I do love DC. Superman is my favourite character in fiction. I love Manchester United. And when I'm on X, I do get a little bit more carried away. It's not like I'm pretending, but, I do laugh. But that's the stuff I find funny. The things I mock on X is actually me. But I'm not the same on X as I am on here. I'm a little bit more serious on here because I'm trying to talk to you guys and girls. I'm trying to make my point. So I don't really joke as much on here as much as I should because I'm focused on what I'm talking about. But when I go on X, I'm unleashed and it's fun. And you should really follow me on there because we do have a laugh. Because I think one of the things I'm very, very serious about or very strict on is that I don't take myself seriously. I don't. I can make fun of myself. If you make fun of others, you've got to be able to make fun of yourself and laugh at yourself. I'm not serious. I'm 51 years old. I'm not going to live forever. And I'm just enjoying stuff. So Zack Snyder, go and check him out on the Joe Rogan podcast. He's stirring the shit, he's enjoying it, he's triggering people, it's brilliant. I mean, maybe he knows something we don't. But also, what does this mean for James Gunn? Because Snyder is a spanner in the ointment. Think about this, James Gunn's trying to create this positivity and bring DC fans together because that's where the money is at the end of the day. And you've still got Snyder stirring things up. Is he doing it on purpose? On one hand, he congratulated James Gunn when he took over. He's been supportive. He publicly said on his social media platforms that he was taking one of his kids to watch Blue Beetle and Representation Mattered and all of that. But then on the other hand, he's talking about Batman. He's talking about Superman and causing a divide again. Maybe that's his message to WB. If you don't sell Snyderverse to Netflix, then I will keep on stirring it up. And this is an interesting thing. But we also know that Gunn would never let that happen. But, as I've said before, the decision isn't James Gunn's and it isn't Peter Safran's. It's David Zaslav. And David Zaslav and Warner Brothers Discovery You know, they're watching their share prices plummet every day. They're desperate. They're selling so many things to Netflix already. So I think it will be very valuable to them to like license out DC, the Snyderverse version of DC, right? And if they can come to a good agreement over, numbers and finances, I think that will be something that Zaslav's certainly thinking, this Snyderverse to Netflix thing. Now, Gunn won't like that. Gunn will fucking hate that. But at the end of the day, right, you had your opportunity, you got Elseworlds, you could have shoved Snyder on Elseworlds and allowed him to finish his arc, or to do a Dark Knight Returns 2-part movie on Elseworlds. Wouldn't be hurting anyone, right? And you either embrace that or you don't. And you give people a choice, but you don't want to do that. Snyder ain't going away, right? This is the thing, right? Snyder isn't going away. His fans aren't going away. Snyder is obsessed with DC. Let me tell you that. He's obsessed with DC. He wants back into DC. There's no question about that. He ain't going to be satisfied working on Netflix for the rest of his career. What is he, about 60 now? I mean, watching him on Joe Rogan, the man looks brilliant for 60. I mean, is 60 even old? I mean, if you're 20, you're going to say, well, Mick, yeah, but I'm 51, so be kind, right? Ignore the bags and the lines and everything, right? I'm getting old. I get backache. I get tired in the middle of the afternoon. I fall asleep on the armchair in the kitchen while I'm watching a movie. What has happened to me? But anyway, yeah, so I really enjoyed that. But personally, I think for James Gunn, maybe he would be better off if Snyder did get the Snyderverse on Netflix, because then he goes away. Because he's never going away, by the way. This is in terms of DC, this is the guy that's kicked your door down. He's the party crasher, and he's stirring it up. And maybe he went on Joe Rogan to make that very point. Snyder isn't going anywhere anytime soon. And he's not shy about talking about Batman and what he did with Batman and his DC. And that reminds everyone, about what happened and, how people hated him. And this brings back the negative memories. This doesn't help James Gunn. But what's James Gunn been up to? Well, he's working very hard shooting this brand new Superman film, which is very, very exciting. Now, there was a fan on Threads who said to said to James Gunn, please can you bring back the S on the back of the cake? Do you know what? One birthday, I did have a Superman cake. It was yummy. Anyway, so he said, please bring back the S on the back of the cape, but don't go near anything that Dick Donner did. And James replied, logically, well, I can't do both, because in the Donner movie, he's got the S on the back of the cape. And it's pretty clear, if this fan actually was paying attention, James Gunn has cast 2 actors to play 2 characters that were originally created by Tom Mankiewicz for Superman 78. Otis and Miss Tessmacher. Miss Tessmacher! So he's embracing it. But I think he's taking inspirations from so many different things. All-Star Superman. He had a picture, of a panel where Superman is convincing a kid who wants to jump off a building, who wants to commit suicide, not to do it. And it looks like he's taking inspiration from that. That's brilliant. He's also, someone asked him what comics to read, and he said All-Star Superman and Superman for All Seasons by Jeff Loeb. Not only was Superman of All Seasons inspiration for Smallville, Jeff Loeb, the author of that graphic novel, actually worked on Smallville from around Series 2 to around Series 4 or 5. And Jeff was very, very integral in those 3 or 4 years of Smallville. And some of the best stuff we saw in Smallville came from the Jeff Loeb era. Not that he was running the show, but he was a co-producer and he was in the writer's room. So that's awesome. So basically, this is what we said before, that James Gunn is taking inspiration from different kind of, versions and iterations of Superman, both in comics and live action. And that is very, very interesting. And that goes back to Kingdom Come. Like last week I was saying, is he doing Kingdom Come? And that would be ambitious if he could pull off Kingdom Come. Maybe the S-Shield is just taking inspiration. Maybe he's not actually doing Kingdom Come. Now, Boba Talks believes he's doing reverse Kingdom Come. Now, this is a very interesting thing. I was watching, what's it called, My Movie Review or Our Movie Reviews, that guy, that posh guy. Um, and he was talking about a theory on the internet about, that the Authority movie will actually be Superman versus the Authority. That's very, very interesting. Because that would be awesome. Because, James Gunn changed the title from Superman Legacy to Superman. So why not, when we get to the Authority, the title will be Superman versus the Authority? There is a theory, because the actress playing the engineer, when James Gunn commented on David Corenswet, joking when David, posted the S shield, and then James Gunn goes, I'm considering releasing the video of you swimming in your trunks in the snow. And then the actress playing the engineer said, I'd like to see that, and I'd like a video of me as well. Which means she was probably in Norway as well. So maybe she's injured. This is kind of the rumours, and think maybe she's injured and Superman saves her, because she's a member, I think, of the Authority. So the theory goes is, when we get to the Authority movie, maybe she's the one, when that fight happens, she's the one trying to convince the Authority that Superman is all right, and maybe he should join up. Maybe they should join the Justice League, and this is, it's part of Superman being compassionate. So this is very, very interesting, because if we're getting Superman versus the Authority, this means James Gunn is going all in with Superman. As a Superman fan, if that's the case, if the Authority is actually Superman versus the Authority, wow, if we're going all in on Superman, that's amazing. For any Superman fan, that's exciting. That's what I talk about being, balanced. I can love what Snyder did, but I can be hyped for what Gunn's doing as well. That's not being a fanatic. If I was a fanatic, it would be, well, I like Zack Snyder, I've got to hate James Gunn. I don't hate James Gunn. I don't. I like what he's done in movies, and I love Peacemaker, but I love Zack Snyder as well. Why can't I love both? Why does it have to be this or that? We live in this or that generation. That's what I hate. So that's very, very exciting as well. But if we're going all in on Superman, where's Batman? You would have thought that, Gunn was going to go, he'd rather go all in on Batman than Superman. Because Batman's easy money, right? I mean, look at the Batman-centric properties, apart from Birds of Prey, right? You look at the first Suicide Squad, all right, and the Suicide Squad didn't make money, but that was released during the pandemic. But you got the first Suicide Squad that no critic liked and divided fans again. Nearly 800 million? Wow. For a film that a lot of people didn't like. That's crazy, right? The Joker movie, $1 billion, all Batman-centric. The Batman. Even Batman versus Superman, right, made nearly 900 million, which wasn't enough for the studio, but it was a lot of money. Let's be, would you mind? Would you mind being given 900 million? Would I? Of course not. But in business terms, it wasn't enough. But when you look at Batman, Batman makes money. There's very few Batman flops. Obviously, Batman Forever wasn't even a flop. It made okay money. But I mean, Batman and Robin's probably the only Batman movie, Batman-centric thing that's never made any money, really. You look at Batman 89, hit. Batman Returns, hit. Batman Begins was, only made around 300 million, nearly 400 million, right? But it only cost about 100 million to make. So that movie made a profit. Obviously, The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises, huge hits. Batman's an easy winner. So it is interesting to me how he is going all in on Superman. It looks like, because the Authority, even in the comics, has connections to Superman. Because I've done my research. It's not because I've read those comics. I'm not a reader of books or anything. I'm a watcher. I like my telly. I like my cinema. That's who I am. I apologise if that offends you. Sorry, not sorry. So surprisingly, it does look like we're going all in on Superman. And as I say, as a fan, that's exciting. But to go all in on Superman, you've got to make him relatable, which a lot of people have failed to do recently. We've spoken about Man of Steel. Some love it, some hate it. Batman versus Superman, some love it, some hate it. That isn't making him relatable. It's about making him all popular with the general audience. And if James Gunn manages to do that with his Superman movie, and then you get a Superman versus the Authority, then James Gunn has succeeded where everyone else has failed. Like it or not, where everyone else has failed. Dick Donner did it. He made Superman relatable for a new generation. Gotham Miller did it with Smallville. He made Smallville relatable for a new generation. That's facts. But everybody else hasn't been able to do that. I mean, Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, was a successful show. But I think when you talk about what Donner did and what Gotham Miller did with Smallville and Superman 78, that was on such a huge level of success. So that's very, very interesting to me. But where's Batman? We're not hearing anything about Brave and the Bold. And as I said yesterday, he don't want competing properties. Think about this. If he don't want any competing Superman properties, why would he want any competing Batman properties? See you again tomorrow. Till then, keep on looking out for more DC news. I'll be back tomorrow.